I'm so happy to have you on. There were things that happened last week, and I was like, I need to talk to Tripoli about this.
As my friend Dylan Wren on Conspiracy Social Club, aka Deepwater, calls it, it was Conspiracy Christmas.
Okay, you mean last week?
Yeah, last week. And I just feel like moving forward is just going to be nothing but Conspiracy Christmas.
Okay, and is it because the incidents in the news are so nutty, or just that media is so full of shit, it's open season to come up with any reason for why things are happening?
Yes, the both of those.
Okay.
It's like everything that conspiracy theorists are saying is going to happen happens, and it's just all coming out right now, and a lot of people think it's getting worse. It's not getting worse. It's just getting more obvious.
Right.
And it's just interesting because I just feel like it all has to come out.
Okay.
For people to really wake up. Now, we're at Skankfest. How many people are paying attention to anything? I don't know.
Okay.
Like, that's why I really loved when Dan went up and you went up and you did a lot of really great political shit. They should have one. I know we're going to do your guys' podcast, but one political stand-up show.
I would love that.
So we should talk to them about next year.
Yeah.
Having just a political show.
Yeah.
Where, like, Dave and anybody who wants to do political jokes. Because that is something... I just feel like comedy's so weird like that, where you just got to have people coming to that. Like, that's why Jimmy Dore is so amazing.
Right.
Like, Jimmy Dore's crowd is so amazing because you can do the regular stuff, the laugh, but you can also do political shit and the laugh. And that's why, like, when I go on the road, tinfoil hat, that's what I like about our crowd, too. Like, Eddie will do, like, 5 minutes on eating ass.
Right.
Then he'll do some shit on, like, the deep state, and they get equal laughs.
Right.
Which is great.
Because people, they're there for it. They're primed. Hey, this is what we're talking about.
Well, it's also that, you know, we're living in a very unprecedented time.
I'm just going to move this because I think we'll get slightly better sound if it's
wherever you want
in the chest.
Hey, do
I
what
want,
you gotta do.
I want it in the
Do what
thick.
you got to do, dude.
All right.
Get it in the median fur. Get it in the grassy knoll. I just feel that, what was I? And I lost my thought. Goodbye, thought. But, I feel like this is a very unique time and unprecedented time because people literally are just drowning in too much information.
Okay.
Right? So that the point that I understand to a point where they don't want to hear the political jokes and they kind of just want to escape a little bit.
Right.
So that is why what I would call pop comedy, I feel, is flourishing more than ever because there is now, you know, it used to be like you watch the news 1 hour, read a newspaper. That was the amount of data.
Now it's constant. So if you're at a show, you're like, I don't even want to think about that reality.
The
Give me some
algorithms
fluff.
are killing us. Like
Right.
this new thing with the Telegram guy.
Okay.
He's now, they made him install algorithms.
Into Telegram.
Yeah.
That's what France did when they arrested him?
That was basically the agreement. Either you're going to do what we tell you to do,
right,
or else you're not leaving here.
Right.
And
he folded.
He had to. I mean, they were coming after him.
So now the content on Telegram, I haven't been on Telegram for a while. The content is now curated, and it's not just kind of like the chain. It used to be kind of subscribed to a chain, and you could get the craziest shit.
To do it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like that anymore.
I don't know what this means, but I've been told by people I've interviewed that now he has to give away IPs of people doing so. And it's like, okay, if it's kiddie porn, we're cool with that.
Right.
Right? Which I think we all agree with. But we know that's not what they're going to be doing.
Right.
They're going to be doing the guy who's talking too much truth, getting too close. Is there someone putting out documents they shouldn't be?
Right.
That's what's going to be about.
The juicy shit. All right. Before we get into my list of conspiracies from last week that I wanted to get into, you said it was Conspiracy Christmas. What were the big ones to you from last week?
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, what is last week, but maybe like Eric Abrams, the Chinese spy in New York, which is the third time in the past, like, 3 years that a Chinese spy has been found in a Democratic...
that was the governor's office, right?
The governor's office. Then you had Eric Swindell banging one who died in a plane crash later on. And then you had, what's her face out in New York? The old lady that passed away. Her driver for 20 years was a Chinese spy.
That's wild. And if you're driving, you're hearing everything.
Yeah.
You're getting the real conversation.
Yeah, especially if you're driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, you're hearing it all.
She's like whispering. She's doing phone calls.
That's how you get the stock tips.
So
That'd be Nancy Pelosi's driver.
I always had this theory that there were two Chinese comics at the Comedy Store, and they're both my friends.
You thought they were both spies?
I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't trust any Asian people.
Well, I mean, like,
I think it's just a safer rule.
Well, I mean, like, they literally say, like, anybody from China is considered a spy.
Right.
That's kind of like, because their families are all over there, they got to play ball,
right.
and that's kind of how it goes.
That's why they pay full tuition in college. I once heard that from a guy in the military. He's like, anyone getting an engineering degree in the United States or trying to, like, get into nuclear physics, any of that shit, they're all spies.
I get, this whole thing that China's killing us in this and killing us in that.
Right.
Well, then why are they stealing shit from us? They literally, like, they had 100 Days of Roses.
Okay.
And they killed every fucking creative person they could find.
Right.
Do you know what the 100 Days of Roses was?
No.
That was during their Cultural Revolution.
Okay.
Mao was like, listen, for 100 days,
right,
you guys can say whatever you want. We're not going to care. Get it out. So these people are like, you're doing this, you're doing like Pai Gao. Like that scene in Deer Hunter that might be too old for you when they're doing the fucking Russian roulette.
Right.
But as soon as that 100 days is over, gathered up all the people, killed all of them. So there's a reason why we have, say whatever you want about America and the dumbing down of America, which is 100% happening.
Right.
But we still have more Nobel Peace Prize winners than anybody else.
Right.
Everyone's jacking our shit and selling it to everybody else.
So
it's interesting to me. So yeah, they pay them to come here and then they embed themselves and they steal shit from us. Like they stole fentanyl from us. A professor at MIT stole the thing, went back to China.
And started making all the fentanyl.
And started teaching all these fucking, these cartels in Mexico how to make it. And it's just like, you start to realize like how deep it is. Like,
did the MIT guy make crazy money? Or what was his thing? Just under like a...
He's just a Chinese spy.
Okay. And he was just like, this is how
I'm sure they took care of him.
Right.
Or that's just what you do, or else we murk your whole family.
Right.
Right? We kill their social credit score and shit.
All right. I want to get into Puff Daddy.
Okay.
And so I was digging in a little bit into the CIA kind of rap conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And you've been, you know more Hollywood people than I do from 25 years of the Comedy Store. You've just seen people climb into fame.
Yeah.
You've been around Hollywood. You've been around that world. I have not. So first is I'm curious to, in your, like, let's start with Puff Daddy. Do you think, was he some sort of an Epstein type guy? That he's, getting all this dirt on people so that he's got leverage on them? Is Howard Stern showed up to one of those parties and that's why he became a leftist forever?
Well, I mean, the thing that's interesting about Stern is that his logo is literally the Marxist fist. And we never really understood that until it started coming out. And now you go back to his logo, it's a Marxist fist.
And that was also interesting because that's when he made the transition to satellite radio on the basis of now I'm going to be uncensored. And that was also the beginning of him becoming just not cool.
Yeah, he just got the fat payday.
Yeah.
And so if you study how he was treated versus Opie and Anthony, Opie and Anthony were constantly fighting to stay on air.
Right.
Like Stern was just like growing and growing and growing. And you go, what is that a part of? And then you start to look at like what, listen, I'm one of the few people that once in a while turn back into Stern, and he is a magnificent interviewer.
Yes.
He is probably the best to ever do it.
But when he talks politics, you want to kill him.
Yeah.
You're literally like, dude, you were supposed to be the coolest person, and now I can't even believe that this is coming out. Like when he was interviewing Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, 100%. And they called in the favors. That's what they do. They call in the favors. And it's like, it's why I have a problem with a lot of these comics that are doing this. They made their bones on being like offensive, and now they're like, man, maybe like people's feelings should matter. And you're like, that's fine if you think that, but you should not be closing the door behind you.
Right.
Because you made it off of this style. And now you're saying people shouldn't be doing this style. It's like the Anthony Jeselnik Legion of Skanks fight.
Right.
You're like, Jeselnik, you would thrive here. Your jokes would crush at a Legion of Skanks show.
This should be what you're celebrating.
You should be coming into it. But this weird kind of like thing you have where you think they're alt-right. Imagine thinking Legion of Skanks is alt-right. It's so ridiculous to me. So when you go to Howard Stern, get called promptly, dude.
But so do you think Puff Daddy was Epstein, or just kind of observe the music industry and realize, hey, the real way to make money here is by blackmailing people, and if I'm blackmailing people and I've got dirt on them, I can stay in the game and get these...
Epstein.
He's an Epstein.
And if you study And I would tell people, people, I don't know how you could do it, but if you did a real deep dive on that Jeffrey Epstein and no one's ever done it, or I've never actually seen this, I guarantee you at some point in his very young age, I'm talking like college or something, he got busted, he got entrapped in a sexual assault. I guarantee it. Because everybody else is. Like Puff Daddy did. Clinton did at Oxford. He had a sexual assault charge. And then it went away.
It's basically mob shit that you're in debt to the mob. They get the dirt on you, and then once you're in, you're stuck for life because they get you to do the next bad thing, and they've got the records of it.
Snoop Dogg's the exact same thing of that. He was on trial for murder. They had him dead to rights. He got off. Now he's full on.
And now he's the biggest thing in Hollywood. He's Mr. Commercial.
Yeah, it's just like the craziest thing. They're like, they keep rolling him out like he's hip. He's grandpa, dude. He's like 60 or something, dude. And this is coming from an old guy. But it's like the way they make him like hang out with youthful people, like they're the same generation. They just keep using these guys.
All right, Puff Daddy, who's his handler? Is it someone in the CIA?
Oh, it was Clive Owen. Clive Davis.
Who's the music
and then there's
executive.
The other guy. And I guarantee you Clive Davis used to just light up P. Diddy in the bedroom.
You think he used to be fucking Puff Daddy?
Yeah, or the other way around.
Interesting. Okay, so Clive Davis, he's like a very old school record producer, one of the most successful of all time.
His name.
I think the other guy's the black dude, right?
No, there's another guy who is like the biggest one of all of them.
Because if you look up, maybe Russell Peters, isn't that the other guy?
No.
Who's like the big music dude?
It's like what I could Google it right now. What record exec was? Okay, hold on. What record exec was named in the P. Diddy lawsuit? And this guy is the biggest guy. It's a dude. I'm trying to find his name.
But in the meantime, Clive Davis. So is he straight up CIA asset, gets recruited, hey, you're going to run America's basically cultural movement of music, and you're going to basically turn every celebrity so that we have control over them? But like what is the scheme there?
That is a great question. I always ask that. And it's because you want to turn the culture to a certain way. Okay? Like there was a big movement at some point to turn rap into hip-hop and hip-hop into gangster rap. Okay, now that was done. And you see it in metal too. Like the heavy metal bands just got iced. And then all of a sudden it was grunge. And grunge was pushing depression, pushing pharmaceutical drug use, like all that stuff. It's all about cultural tastemakers pushing the culture in a certain way. Now, a lot of people don't understand. It's like they mistake their culture for their heritage. It's not your heritage. Culture is manufactured. Culture is the enemy of nature. Culture is trying to get you to act a certain way that is opposite of your nature.
Well, I would argue a little bit, it almost taps into the nature of that we're monkeys and we want to be in the in-group. And so in a way, if you've got tastemakers saying, hey, here's what everyone likes, and it becomes a cultural experience, you almost indoctrinate people into that.
Yeah, but our natural drive is to procreate, raise our children, like do these cultures. Look what they push. They push sling rock, shoot people. That's what that. I mean, so people can get mad at me, and they can be. But that was it, dude. And you listen to old school rappers go. It went from fucking empowering and fist fights at a nightclub to people getting shot. And then you look at Tupac, who's so obviously like Tupac and Ice Cube are the Larry the Cable Guy of fucking gangbang fucking rhymes. They're not real those people, but they manufactured those people to take the movement deeper into gangbanging, which got people in jail, which took fathers out of the home. And it's like if you look at the so I just did a show and I was just talking a lot of shit on stage And, we have this whole thing where, like, people are mad culturally.
Right.
The N-word drives people crazy. And talking heads just eat it up.
Right.
While you see real racism, like legit racism happening in Flint, Michigan, where a bunch of white bureaucrats are just destroying a black community.
Literally poisoning them.
And nobody's talking about it.
Right.
Because you got Dyson, like, calling some white chick a racist while sending her smooches on. I don't know if you know that story. That just came up. But the point is, it's like, what are you focusing on versus what's really going on? So it's like this push into a certain narrative. Same thing with OnlyFans. If you study OnlyFans, nobody's making money. But if you look at the New York Post, they're all cashing checks. That's done on purpose.
To sucker you into it.
Into a low vibrational lifestyle that goes against your will.
All right, so let's talk about this because you're speaking my language. In my last episode, I was literally talking about this of to what extent are your own personal values basically something that you adopted from pop culture and you're living your entire life with something that basically you've been programmed for.
100%.
And it's fascinating when you start thinking of like...
that was my life.
Okay.
My drug abuse.
Right.
My sex addiction.
Right.
Like I have an addiction, but the notion that do drugs is rock star.
Right.
Banging every woman you meet is a grown-ass man.
Right.
And then you look at all my problems, they stem for both of those things.
Yeah, because we adopted at some point, hey, it's cool to bang a lot of chicks.
Yeah.
And it's like, where did I get that value from? Why is that more important than a family or a more wholesome relationship? Why is that the thing that was idealized by me at age 14 and 15?
Like the rock star lifestyle, which is like fucking Keith Mooning everything. Like, hey, dude, you're not a real artist unless you take that chair and throw it out that fucking window.
Okay, so now let's delve into the vibrational frequencies. Let's go a little bit deeper here. So do you think it's literally like the CIA has a relationship with demonic people and they're like, how do we keep everyone miserable and sinning? Like, how deep do you think it goes? Like, what is the CIA?
Of every single conspiracy is fallen angels' war against God's greatest creation.
Okay.
It is the genesis of it.
Right.
Everything stems from there.
So I got to ask you, why does God extend freelancing powers to fallen angels? So what I mean by that is like, like in the Matrix, when they've got the agent and then he goes rogue. But like, if you look at it like we're within God's matrix, and God's all powerful, all knowledge, all being. So why does he, like, because in the fallen angel narrative, it sounds like God's lost control of some people.
I've had real good discussions about this with some very disciplined Christians. They're not like most Christians. They're my best friend from high school. We've been friends since elementary school. Very religious. And I have a whole story I'll tell you about, but because I originally said it's God versus fallen angels, and they got not happy with me on that. And they were like, it's not God versus fallen angels. It's God. God is allowing this to happen. Why? I don't know. I'm new into this. I'm trying to figure out. I struggle with pornography, dog. But yeah, I'm reading like the fucking, the Old Testament, and like dudes are banging their moms to show fucking discipline, right? Like that's how back in the day they said you would show dominance over your father is that you would bang your mother, right?
Where was that? I don't remember this Bible story.
Well, it's the story of was it Moses that cursed his grandchildren? Who was it? Noah curses his that's what some people think the real story's about. That his one son, Noah curses his grandchildren from that one son. Listen, I'm just telling you what I've heard from people. But I like you get into all this shit that's in the New Testament. And you're like, what the fuck?
So let's go back to, I guess, the just more like rational or knowable plane. So we can kind of look at rap music, and you and I both love this storyline of the Jackson Pollock thing where they were spending all the money on it to make it seem like it was more popular. And so once the government does that, we know societally, if something's doing well financially, prices are supposed to be a mechanism for knowing how valuable something is. So it's very easy to distort the market. Like, for example, if all of a sudden an agent came around, put us in the biggest theaters in the country, bought every single ticket, everyone goes, oh shit, Sam Tripoli's the most popular comic. It's kind of, if you want to get conspiratorial, packing the Kamala Harris venues. Holy shit, look at how popular this person is.
100%.
That's the metric, right? So we
but
know.
What is that?
So what I'm saying is we know that they'll spend money.
Yeah, but what is that? That's mysticism, dude. That is literally energy manipulation.
Okay.
We are up against sorcery. I know people think I'm crazy when
Okay.
they think I'm not lying to you, dude.
Okay.
At the highest levels, it is sorcery.
Okay.
We're manipulating energy, dude.
Right.
These new next gen weapons they're using, it's all hardwired sorcery, dude.
Okay.
Fucking reading your thoughts.
Right.
Fucking direct energy weapons.
Okay.
Questions of time traveling. It's all like Doctor Strange sorcery, dude.
Okay.
That's what we're up against. So when you see them telling you, ABC's like, the polls are close.
Right.
They are manipulating your mind into believing this is a close election.
Right. And then it's scary to think about if they propped up rap, for example, because they wanted to undermine the black community and have them, celebrate violence, drug usage, sex, celebrate all this negativity, get people in jail, and then we look at what we know they do with the media, and then you start just thinking about technology, and it's like, for example, every single time I go downstairs here, the fucking frequency of that room, the way it you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ever walk into a room and you want Coke, you're like, I'm in a bad place. That means I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to be here. I'm trying to like get myself to where this place is. Or even you and I walk around being creeps. We see all the hot chicks out there. I'm not advocating for burqas, but I also don't like walking around feeling hypersexualized. You know what I mean? Like I didn't go to a strip club. So you start wondering, it's like, what is the other shit that they have that they just try and make us miserable and compulsive so that you don't invest in spirituality?
The question one more time, sorry.
Yeah, so what other tools do you think they have? Because we can see that they clearly have these tools, and just to make it less sorcery-wise, we can just see that, they're trying to manipulate us to, let's just say, to stay in power at a very simple level.
Right.
What are the other tools that maybe I'm not even observing that you think they're using against me? Like, do you think the fluoride in the water? Do you think that there's frequencies they're broadcasting at me? Do you think they send planes over my house at night just to keep me more rattled?
100% to get you to take petroleum-based fucking narcotic medication that doesn't do what they tell you to do. It's the opposite of that. I mean, dude, it's been a full court press against God's greatest creation.
And is it just because, like, if there's a baseline of misery in all of us, it's just hard to...
They feed off it.
Okay.
They literally feed off the energy. It's like, it's the worshiping of dark entities.
It's like in the movie Monsters, Inc. with the scaring kids and then they convert it to laughter.
And then they put that out and it's like, oh my God, so cute. And you're like, that's some dark shit.
Okay.
That's some dark ass shit, dude. And that's what they do. And they do that. Dude, oh my God, everybody's getting sick. COVID's being passed around. Or they're spraying the skies heavier than they did. And they're cranking up the 5G now. And now we're all just like, ugh. And we're eating stuff thinking it's healthy. Dude, it is a war against us. Particularly in America. They want us so dumb and unhealthy that we can't participate in our own government. And to realize that our centralized bank, which isn't ours, but the centralized bank of America is funding everything that you despise about humanity. It is funding it with Babylonian, Phoenician, fucking money magic, dude. We have money. I have money in my fucking thing. Yeah. Look at this, dude. This says it's $5 fucking dollars. $5. This is worth nothing. This is technically, it's just you. I tell you this is $5. You go, this is $5. It's not backed by anything. Okay. It's magic. It's literally magic. What they did is they created something, and they made us believe its value, and then they did create a system in which they printed so much of it, they bribed everybody. They bribed them all. They bought you off with fucking mysticism, sorcery.
I'll tell you something even creepier about what you're saying, where they buy you off with the money. This might blow your mind. All right, so here's an example. Kamala Harris is talking about giving you $25,000 to go buy a house. Now, if she hands, let's say, 1 million people in California $25,000 to buy a house, what do you think that does to home values?
Destroys them.
No, it instantly pushes it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because now everyone's got more capital to buy a specific asset. The only thing they can purchase with that asset Think about anything. Let's say I handed everyone in this hotel $100 to go buy Red Bull.
Right.
They're going to increase the cost of the Red Bull.
Well, I understand that, but there's also something about if you're giving everybody money and people moving into neighborhoods that maybe couldn't afford to live in that neighborhood.
Oh, that will bring down the property value?
And allow these giant fucking banks to use the Babylonian money magic to buy up everything.
Right.
So that's the whole thing. Like, they're going to give you a loan. They're going to give you this money. It's the bubble. It's the burst of 2008. It's like they're giving out loans to people they know can't fucking pay them.
Right.
They all default. And guess what happens? The bank takes back a real asset.
Right.
That is it. Now the bank takes all these real assets, and then the banks don't want the thing. You're right, but someone who owns the bank also owns this company that buys up all the fucking property for fucking pennies on a dollar.
Right.
And it's just made up money. It's just press this button. Oh, I'm in the red, $100 million. Press a button.
Right.
I'm even. Press a button. I'm up $100 million. It's literally playing Monopoly and just grabbing money out of the green and the blue money.
Well, to make it more simple for the listeners, ready? I'll make it real simple. I open up a bank on day one, right? And a bunch of people, they want homes. So I hand them all $100,000 and I go, here, go purchase your house. And they go, wow, the bank was so nice. You know what I just did? I just created $100,000 of wealth for me.
Yeah.
That you're now a servant of debt that you have to pay to me. Because I didn't go create $100,000 worth of wealth. I handed it to you that you now, your entire life, you have to pay me that I just put you in debt.
Yeah. And let's say you default.
Then they take the asset. And so you lose every penny that you spent of what you worked off from the slavery.
Yeah.
That's what people don't realize with government money. It's a devil's trick where you're like, oh, wow, free money.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're now indebted to the system. The $25,000 that you thought was free from Kamala Harris means your house is now more expensive. You're more in debt. You're paying it off for longer. Right. And that's the whole scheme there. All right, going back to the spirituality, because I'll put a slightly positive spin on this, but I'll give you first tab. So we know that they're fucking with us all the time. They want us miserable. They want us compulsive. They want us not thinking about how we live better. What's the Sam Tripoli system for trying to combat that?
Well, for me, man, is like, so I meet with my friends. They're like very strict Christians. And they said something to me. They go, do you think that you are helping by doing this show?
Right. You mean if you're telling a dirty joke?
By doing my tinfoil hat show.
Okay.
Do you think you're helping?
Right.
Are you spreading anxiety?
Okay.
And there's probably a little truth to that.
Okay.
Okay. But in the end, and I told them this, I go, if people would have listened to my show, they wouldn't have got the vaccine. And they wouldn't have fucking been like having a ticking time bomb, possibly. Right? So for my whole thing is like, how do I combat it?
Right.
I learn their playbook and don't fall for their sorcery.
You know what's interesting to me, and I'll give you this for your friends. When I did your podcast once, I think 3 years ago in person in California. And at the time, you were not on as far along in your spiritual journey as you are now. And I almost thought that there was an odd conflict in that you had an obsession with the themes of good and evil, and that was kind of the angle of which you were exploring, like conspiracy, where I was like, this guy's going to end up with religion. Because you can't obsess over good and evil without trying to figure out how I have more.
Where I want to go with spirituality.
Right.
I think I'm really in conflict right now.
Yeah.
Of wondering how much manipulation has been done to all the spiritual books.
Right.
And it's like so much of my life is following my instincts.
Right.
Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but for some reason when it comes to conspiracies, I'm really good. And when I think about religion, and I think about all like the teachings of Jesus, whatever you may want to think about. I'm not talking about the organized church. I'm just talking about this person who seemed pretty special and the beliefs. Just to me, it was like love thy neighbor, help other people, right?
Right.
And then you start getting into like all these other kind of rules, and you go, what's that about? And like, should I hate these people?
Right.
Like, I have a real problem with the hating of gay people.
Okay.
Like, I don't care what people do with consenting adults, but this notion that like these people are bad people. And if they're going to go to hell, I don't believe in hell or hell. I think
Right.
it's like either get absorbed back into God or you don't, whatever that is. Like, I don't want to hate people.
Right.
Like, that's where I want to live. I think, like, I know I feel better when I help people.
Right.
When it's like I got this whole thing about, it's like I didn't want to do any of my super new shit yet at the show because it's like I'm doing the depraved. But it's like I almost got stabbed giving a guy money, right? Like it was a really funny thing. But I believe on giving it away and all that stuff. So like to me, that's what religion and God is about. So I have some problems with some of the rules. It doesn't make sense to me.
I got a good framing for you.
Okay.
You might not. I told you about this guy Morris, Nicole, and Girchev. I have not been reading much of their works at the moment, but I found some things really insightful, and I liked his idea of kind of afterlife. I think you're gonna like this. So my initial question was, how do you combat it? And I think what's nice about the world of spirituality, unlike the world that we live in, is that to the extent that you're struggling to be better, you're advancing. Whereas like the world that we live in, for example, if you spend 10 years trying to be a good comic and it wasn't your skill set and you fail at it, you failed. Spirituality is not like that. It's more about growth. It's more about growth and struggle. So it's like, it almost doesn't matter how difficult they make the game. It's more, are you looking to cultivate your own essence, which I define as the struggle you put into improving versus if you are mechanical and you let everything just act upon you and you essentially just become rot. Like if you think about like personal depression, where you're just kind of sitting in rot of you're like, oh, I woke up this morning, I ate junk food, I jerked off, I did this, and you're just kind of like sitting in rot.
Yes.
Yeah, but like you know what I'm describing, where you're literally sitting in rot. So I think like when you give up, your essence can almost become rot and you can live on in that form versus like to the extent that you struggle towards improvement, you're building just essence.
I agree.
And like that to me is kind of like the foundation of spirituality, and then it becomes almost like the intentionality. I hate getting like too self because I'm as you and I are both compulsive comics. That's how we ended up in this game.
100%. I am a flawed man, and that's why I don't want to judge others. It is my thing about simple versus easy, right?
Right.
Like easy to me is like instant gratification shit.
Yeah.
Fast food, porn, drinking, drugs.
Yeah.
Mostly our culture.
Right.
Versus simple, which is prayers, getting close to God, helping others, trying to be a better person, working out. Like to me, that's what it's all about.
Right.
And it's like, it's like you can sin or whatever you want to call it, as long as you realize that and goes back to what you're saying, to be a better person.
Right.
I just see a lot of religious people full of hate, and I don't think that's what it's about.
Well, there's nothing to me. I think you're not. Religion gets perverted, I think, when it becomes an excuse for violence or hate. Like I think, I think Book of Eli. You ever see that movie?
Yes, I love it.
So I thought that was the best example of that, where the evil villain's like, dude, if I can have the words of that book, the way that I can manipulate people.
Yeah,
100%. And I remember reading in a book about how the Crusades was actually just about the spice war. And basically, they wanted to take spice trade back from the Muslims. So they got all these people all hyped up on religious things. It had nothing to do with religion.
I think
it was just commerce and finance.
In the Middle East is about.
Yeah.
Like, if you ask me, that's a lot about what the Palestinian-Israel conflict is about a fucking trade route. And you mask it in a religious thing.
Right.
You load one side weapons, you don't load the other, and you just fucking get this religious war fucking going. That's actually a business transaction.
Right.
Dude, Vietnam was about the poppy fields. Afghanistan was about the poppy fields. They do that all the time. That the rich murk the poor all the time, and they call it something else, or they hide it as something else. So 100%, I totally, I totally agree with all that.
All right, I'm gonna hit you. We're gonna ADD. I want to move on to some other conspiracy topics.
Okay.
Do you have time? I don't want to steal up.
It's
All right,
fine,
love it. Before I hop into my next topic, why don't you plug whatever you'd like to plug? I know you got a million podcasts. You've got a million things going on. Probably got some live dates coming up.
Oh shit! Oh fuck. Okay, hold on. Okay. So my special's about to drop. I'm having a real discussion with my girlfriend. She wants me to put it on pay-per-view at first.
Okay. I like that.
I like it, but I also just kind of want to put it out.
Okay.
So just so people can see it.
Yeah.
and get it going.
Is it topical?
No. There's nothing set to. Oh, they gotta get the shout joke.
Pay-per-view model. You do it for a month, paywall, so the hyper
But see, I have all
support.
these big podcasts I'm going on, and I don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
Like, I can get the most views if I just kind of put it out. So we're having a debate. I might put it out for 2 weeks, and the fans who want to show me love to help me cover the amount of money that I spent on it, I would appreciate it.
Right.
But it's called Quiet. The actual name of it is Why Is Everybody Getting Quiet?
Which I've seen. All right. Well, the funnest I had all last year doing stand-up was when me and you did that solo show. But also the first half hour when you were solo. First, I wish I'd been on mushrooms. Me and Tom were in the corner, just like drilling. I was like, wow, this is all. Because you were just like mixing so many things where like you were getting heady and then you would turn it funny. But that's kind of your.
Oh, you went to my last show in
the
LA.
dojo.
When we did LA?
Right, that one was a weirder setting, but the one at the dojo.
Yeah.
But that's kind of your hook is when everyone's grooving with you and you kind of just ADD and go, why is it getting quiet in here?
Oh yeah, because I get bomb ears really bad because my adrenaline's going.
Yeah.
I can't hear.
Yeah. So that's awesome that you.
And then I just press. It's full court, or as Tom Rhodes says, I play at the front of the net. Right.
There you go.
So that and then. My podcasts are doing great, dude. I got a bunch of podcasts. If you go to samtrue.com, you'll see them all listed. But I'm like Tinfoil Hat is the mothership. Everyone loves it. It's 8 years running, still top 200 podcasts in comedy. So I take a lot of pride in that. But I have this podcast called Broken Sim, and it's like we talk about current events,
right?
But it's really about our week,
right?
And that's been popping up in the top 200 of comedy. Like I don't know why, but I really like that because it's just me and my friend Johnny talking,
right?
And I don't know why, but I just love that. Then my debate show is called Deep Waters with Dylan Wren. And then bringing back this will be my last show I ever create.
Okay.
It's called Doom Scrolling. And it's just me and my friend Midnight Mike. We're just going to go and just watch the best conspiracy videos from the week.
Rules. That rules.
And then you could chop it up because,
you
know, the game has changed since Tinfoil Hat started.
Right.
You know, like long form is still great.
Right.
But there's a lot of great guys creating this 8-minute power-packed presentation that people love. And I get it because, like, Ian Carroll's a legend. Like, he's so good at him, James Lee. There's really great. It's very interesting. There's a guy out there, I got to get his name. His grandpa, guess he's doing these really great deep dives. Ian Carroll talks about him all the time. Guess whose grandpa is? I got to get you his name. I don't remember. Larry Fink.
That's wild.
Isn't it wild? He has to do it every show. Yeah, my grandpa's Larry Fink, I know.
That's wild.
But it's wild, dude.
Yeah, that is fucking wild.
But they're creating really great content in 5 to 8 to 10 minute forms.
Right.
So I think it's like you got to do a little bit of everything.
Right.
I'm a crazy person. I'm having conversations with you while my head is like working on 800 different things.
Right.
And sometimes I get lost over here and I have to come back over here. So I have 7 podcasts because I can't turn my head off.
Right.
So
might as well be working.
Well, dude, it's like sometimes I'd love to be the guy that has one podcast that 1 billion people listen to.
Right.
But I would just be talking to myself the whole rest of the time.
So you might as well broadcast
might
it.
Might
as well make that paper.
Might as well fucking throw a camera and a microphone.
There you go.
And just throw it out there.
All right. Before the next one, porchtour.com. I've extended dates and I'm filming a special in Denver in about 2 weeks. So go to porchtour.com. Get your tickets.
samtrooper.com for all my dates.
There you go. All right, this one blew my mind. The guy who last tried to shoot Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Firstly, you think Donald Trump's going to make it to the election, or do you think they ice him?
And I don't buy into any of these.
You think they're all, lay it on me?
Yeah, I don't think.
You think they're phony to try and prop him up, or trying to sell us on Iran's trying to kill
us into the fucking Kabbalist Jesuit, dude.
Okay.
They're trying to wrangle us into him. Listen, I've been studying this shit forever.
Okay.
Even before Tinfoil Hat, I studied conspiracies and what they call high impact events.
Okay.
This is a high impact event.
Okay.
Okay. What I've learned about these high impact events is there is not one layer of attack.
Okay.
There is multiple layers of attack. Each layer doesn't know about the other layer, so that the intended target or the intended consequence or whatever they're looking for happens.
Okay.
So I always say this: if you study like JFK, like when he goes into that plaza, he's not coming out of there because everybody there is a fucking assassin.
Right.
Like it's that scene from John Wick where like the call goes out and for some reason every assassin has a flip phone, which is very weird. And they're all just like, dang, John Wick, $100 million, right? That's that plaza. So
you're saying the fact that they haven't been able to kill Trump is proof of the fact they don't actually want him dead.
Well, the fact that they always say it's like there's not one guy there.
Okay.
There would not be just one power bottom dude who can't shoot.
Dude is hilarious.
Right?
Yeah.
There wouldn't be one guy. There'd be multiple dudes. That in case that guy misses, this guy gets him. That guy gets him. His security gets him.
Are we dealing with two crazy people? Or what is the agenda in trying to pretend like they're killing Trump?
Well, I think it's to corral people behind him.
So you think that this is Trump doing it, or you think the machine actually wants Trump over Kamala, and so this is
I think Trump is possibly a part of a bigger thing.
Lay it on me. Because I suspected a year ago that he cut whatever necessary deals were needed to be cut, and the fact that he won't call out the deep state is trying to kill him, which would be such a Trump narrative.
Well, I mean, the fact that he's blaming it on Iran and nobody's buying it, like, is a sign that, like, I never thought he was a rogue guy. I think he is a crime boss. He represents a different crime family than the George Bush death cult that has been running Washington, D.C. for 40 of the last 44 years. So what you're seeing is, like, just a fight over power. And I think that Trump represents a different faction. It could be New York City real estate. They're like, dude, we gotta go bigger. We're fighting over fucking apartment complexes here. Let's go bigger and take over. He just represents a different crime organization. And they're fighting over who controls the purses and who controls the wars. That's what I think it's about. And they're all about to corral him. They really want people to corral behind him. And it's like, if I study so much of these past psyops like Obama, if you actually study Obama and how he comes to power, he follows the Bushes, or as I call it, his cousins, They're literally his cousins.
Really?
Yeah.
The Bushes are cousins with the Obamas?
So Obama's grandpa, who fucking pimped out his own daughter, Obama's mom, as a MK Ultra sex kitten. She was sent in to fuck important assets. She's like the first, internet thought. There's pictures of her naked. Like, she literally, her job was to go fuck the guys that they wanted to control. So his grandpa and George Bush Sr. built the CIA to what it is today. Now, if you study the Obamas and the fucking Bushes, and you go, who's their common ancestor? The first common ancestor is a Hinckley. Who's the person who tried to assassinate Reagan?
Hinckley.
And who would have been president if that had happened?
Bush.
Yeah. So he even talked about, Uncle Bush told me to do it. They had dinner the night before. So the Bushes have been in power since Reagan's first day. And it's gone all the way through. The Clintons work with the Bushes. They were Bushes.
So Chief Lizard is Bush Sr.?
Well, Chief Lizard is Bush. I mean, like, there's layers above him, but he, like, the selling of him of being a wimp during his election is a giant psyop. He's a nasty gay man.
He was in the CIA for a long time before VP and
he helped bring the Nazis over along with, I think, Eisenhower and Nixon. They brought all the Nazis over. The Nazis didn't lose World War II. Germany did. The Nazis came over here. They weren't brought over here. They came here. Crip walked over and set up shop. That's why none of them changed their names. If you're on the run, you change your name. If you're in the witness protection program, you change your name. If you're Chief Big Dick, you come over and you don't change your name. You don't even fucking hide it. That's what's going on right now.
Nazi agenda within the United States. They just ditch the anti-Semitism thing and be like, you know what, we'll be cool with the Jews, but we're just like, what is Nazi agenda when they get here?
The Nazi agenda is, again, to basically subversive culture.
Okay.
Like, to destroy us from within, because America was kind of new, and they could take over and then use our Federal Reserve. Because at some point they realized, like, so, I mean, you want to get really deep into some shit?
Lay it on me, brother.
The Nazis were just the Bolsheviks of Germany. Their job was to destroy Germany from within. Okay? Hitler's rise, regardless of what these Hitler dick riders are telling you, okay? His rise wasn't natural. The Bank of Germany funded the whole thing. At some point, he realizes that they're not playing ball with him anymore, and he's got to, like, fucking kind of go off on his own. But, dude, I always say to people, if Hitler was battling the bankers, right? Like you think they are, why doesn't he go into fucking Switzerland with a Bank of International Settlements, which is taking 25% of Germany's GDP every year? Why does he go in there? Their answer is, they got big mountains. That's literally all they can come up with, is that they got big mountains. No, dude, because his job was to destroy Germany within. So let me go back to Tony real quick. So when I graduated high school, me and Tony, we graduated in 1991.
Okay, who's Tony?
Tony is my religious friend who got super religious.
Got it.
Him and his wife, they're wonderful people. So Tony goes to college, comes back religious. He's got religion like he's never had before. And he says, and I have no reason not to believe him, he follows the teachings of the way Jesus did it. Before the Vatican came in and tried to switch everything up and bring in all the paganism. So, you know, I've never had a problem with God. So Tony, every time I go back from college, we'd have a moment where Tony would just
try and pitch you,
make his Jesus pitch, and we would discuss religion. And I'm okay with it. Well, one summer, Tony invites me up to this part of Central New York where his church is throwing a live music event. And this is in the 90s. So they throw a live music event, and they're singing a song, and they start singing about two towers going down in the 90s. And that always resonated with me. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I remember hearing those lyrics specifically, and then 9/11 happens, right? So Tony's always told me stuff that he predicts through the Bible is going to happen. He predicts the EU way before the EU happens, before the internet is what the internet now. He's telling me the EU is going to form. All the countries in Europe are going to come together, right? What?
Can he prophesy stock picks?
I fucking wish, dude. I'm like, talk to me here. So he starts telling me stuff's going to happen. His whole theory is that at some point the EU is going to step in to Israel and regulate the Israeli, Palestine, Lebanon, all that shit. They're going to step in. Okay. But he tells me the long game is it's going to be lost tribes of Israel versus the pagans. And the pagans, the lost tribes of Israel are Israel, England, UK, and the United States versus the pagans. And the pagans are led by what is now known as Germany. Okay? So you start going, Sam, that's a little crazy, right? Can I ask you, what country just left the EU?
Was it Germany?
No, Britain.
Oh, right, with the Brexit.
So now Britain's not part of the EU. So the EU, UK, Britain, and the United States are not part of the EU. So if you, man, I think I stink. I'm sorry, dude. I gotta wash my pits. So if you study, if you go, okay, if Germany's gonna lead the pagans, what a great way to constantly destroy it through these world wars, to just keep imploding it. If you study China, you study Germany, you study Russia, and now you're studying America, these countries are so powerful, you can't send a military in. You have to destroy it from the inside, And that's kind of what's happening in America right now. We're having a cultural revolution of China with a Bolshevik revolution, and it's kind of combined here with these foreigners coming in and all this chaos. But he's predicted that forever. And when England left the EU, I go,
like, oh shit, it's on.
Oh shit.
Okay.
And he's not been wrong. That's all I'm saying, dude.
So I've got the opposite conspiracy for you.
Okay.
In regards to the shooting.
Okay.
So last week it made the newspaper that the shooter's son was caught with kitty porn. And then I was wondering, like, how deep does the pedophile thing go that the guy who's is there some clan of government?
Where have we heard this before? The Vegas shooter.
Okay.
His brother was talking, and then what happened to him?
Yeah.
Got busted with kitty porn.
So you're saying that both of these people, it was probably the FBI put it on their computers?
Anything's possible, dude.
Right.
Anything's possible. You know, do they want to shut you up?
Well, that's the easiest way to do it. The
to
easiest way is to send you an email and then bust you with, hey, look what was on your computer.
Yep. I mean, they do it all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
we just did a podcast with Isaac Weissip. We dropped it, and like they were talking about how Ashton Kutcher, and I forget who he did it with, but they
Ashton Kutcher's real dirty, right?
Oh, fucking awful. But he basically started a company that helps tech companies detect kitty porn and record it.
Okay.
Which is like, oh,
What,
dude,
so they're trying to capture it.
Well, they're trying to like say, oh, we're going to find it
and
get rid of it.
It sounds like they're trying to collect it, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%, dude.
Right.
100%. Dude, he's the last one to see this chick who got murdered.
Right.
Like, it's all coming out.
Do they murk Puff Daddy?
Well, here's the thing that I've been saying to people, and I've gotten some pushback, but it is my belief that I think you're gonna see stuff happen with P. Diddy's people over Jeffrey Epstein's people. Because Jeffrey Epstein's people are political people, and political people you want to keep in power so they can keep sending aid and money laundering.
But the money's not there anymore anyways.
But there's nothing more dangerous than being a controlled op who's aging out.
Right.
Because they owe you money.
Right.
And they don't want you to get that money.
Right.
So they come up with a way to either throw you in jail for the rest of your life or off you so they don't have to pay you residuals anymore.
Right.
So Jay-Z's looking like that.
Okay.
J-Lo's definitely looking like that. I mean, you could replace J-Lo in a heartbeat. All you got to do is find a Latino with a fat ass.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Puff Daddy, how much money is owed to Puff Daddy with all this stuff?
Right.
But if you lock him off or off him, he doesn't. You don't have to pay him.
So the mob is getting rid of its residual check requirements.
That's what people are talking about. Okay. But it's like if you want to act like you're doing something, entertainers are way more disposable than politicians.
Right. All right. I got two more questions for you. This one came up last year, and you were talking about the Mexican gangs coming into the U.S. and that we're not going to have an election, and that the Mexican gangs are going to be the new military without the American ties that are basically going to, control us on behalf of the government.
I said that?
Maybe I added the second part. Maybe
you
just said the first part.
I was talking about how we're going to have immigration riots, and I think October is going to start revving up. I'm going to be honest with you, I thought it would have been happening by now.
Right.
But I really do think they're about to rev up.
Because, already mainstream, it's gotten loud enough that mainstream media has to report on the Mexican gang presence or the Venezuelan gang presence.
And all that stuff.
And it does seem to be very organized. And I guess what's most surprising to me is, where's our mobs? Where's the Italians? And the answer is because I guess government's kind of absorbed all that, and they're just not dealing with this.
Well, this is my theory, right? About when Australia, New Zealand, Canada is on lockdown and their government is just annihilating them.
Right.
We're the gun runners. We're the arm dealers. And then you realize the arm dealers are just part of the military-industrial complex, and they're all controlled op too. The mob's controlled op. The cartels are controlled op. They're all controlled by this deep
Because you would just think, how sophisticated can the Venezuelans be to show up and start running drugs in New York that someone doesn't step in and go, this is our fucking turf?
Yeah.
How do you
gangs are starting to do that.
Right.
But it's not, they are starting to do it. You're seeing gangs going, hey, dude, you show up in Chicago, we're going to fuck you up.
Right.
Which is sad that it takes our gangbangers to be law and order.
Right.
Right? But this is what's coming.
Right.
I think October is going to be, I mean, unless they're we can't beat Trump. Trump's done. But again, just let me go back to this Obama point I forgot to finish. Is so after Bush Jr.'s 8 years, like people are over old white men. Like the whole country's like, fuck old white guys.
Right.
Who walks in? Charismatic, closeted gay, black man. And who do they run him against? John McCain, which is old white warmongering scumbag.
Right.
Throwing the fight, dude. Throwing the fight. John McCain is part of the George Bush death cult.
Right.
He's there to throw the game. He is the heel, so Obama gets elected.
Right.
Obama goes forward, bang. Trump comes in. He represents. I'm not saying he's a savior.
He's just a different mob group.
I call him Godzilla.
Okay.
Like Trump is Godzilla.
Okay.
Right? Like Godzilla fucks up Tokyo.
Right.
But at some point, Tokyo's like, we might need Godzilla because Rodan and fucking these 3 fucking headed dragons are coming. And there could be something that he could be a nationalist, not in the sense of Nazis, but in the sense that, hey, America, like on the neighborhood of every mob boss is the safest neighborhood.
Right.
No one's
gonna fuck with you. Yeah.
So maybe our hope is that he wants his
right
country to be chill
right
while he's cashing checks and breaking necks.
Right.
That could be. I don't know. But so his 4 years represent a different crime organization. Right. That's why the media goes nuts.
Right.
Then you get Joe Biden back in. Now the George Bush death cult is back in power. And Camilla is an extension of that.
All right. Last topic. We got time for one more?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk comedy for a second. So I've achieved things I never thought would have existed when I started. Like when I started comedy, podcasting didn't exist. I think what I do with podcasting is really cool. I also didn't even know that headlining existed. To me, it was like you get up on the New York City clubs. Like initially, I don't even know what my vision was. I thought I would probably work some shitty job, but I would get up every night in New York City comedy clubs, and I would just be like one of those guys I used to see there that would just kill in a show. And like, I don't know why. I just thought I would do that forever and that would be my thing. It's weird to me because I think your priority, I want to get up every night and just get better. Everything else is kind of noise. That's kind of, you know what I mean? You just want to get up and hone. I feel like I'm not as good at stand-up as I could be, and I still struggle with like just getting up on a daily.
You're great.
That's
You're a great comic.
I appreciate that.
You really are a great writer.
Okay.
You're a great comic, dude. I guess maybe you just want to get up because it's like working the muscle.
Yeah.
And I get that. But you're a great comic. So the only thing you need to do is start writing the jokes that make you feel like you need to be where you are. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like you're not there's nothing about you that says, "Oh, he needs to get up more."
Right.
Like you're great at it. You're a great writer, but there's something that you think you're lacking.
Right.
Right? Which is probably an internal.
Okay.
So it's like, are you writing the jokes you want to write?
I feel like with all the political stuff, yeah. But then sometimes with the general audience, they have no interest in that.
So you need to expand because eventually, dude, you're going to get to a point where it's like you've talked about all the politics you can.
Right. And you know what's funny? Like in the earlier years, it was all filthy sex and drug jokes.
Yeah, I don't. That's why when I go on the road, I take older men with me, older comics, because we're all talking about the same thing.
Right.
Like, it's like when you're young, you're doing pop comedy.
Right.
Because your life is.
And then you
pop
age
culture.
out of it because you're like, this is my life anymore. I'm not like, I don't want to glorify this. This is not me anymore.
Yeah, and you're just not banging ass all the time like you used to. It's like.
Right. I was never that cool, but yeah.
Well, I mean, like you're thinking about other things, and you know, and it's why it's like you see a lot of people fall off. It's like pop comedy stuff where it's like these really good-looking young guys that make girls swoon. Right. Like, dude, but they drift off.
Right.
Because it's like you gotta get real. Like, as much as Chris D'Elia, I bet, like obviously he hates what happens to him. We're not, and I'm not. I love Chris. He's my friend. I think there's a lot that was there that maybe wasn't what was sold to us. I'm not saying he's perfect. I mean, I don't think a 38-year-old guy should be texting to a 17-year-old, but I feel like he paid a big price for it.
Right.
And at some point we should allow people to show that they've grown. Right. But I would tell you, in my humble opinion, that Chris D'Elia is a better comic today than when he was before the scandal.
Right.
And not that the laughs are maybe as big.
Right.
But he's way more real on stage.
Right.
And if he would have kept doing the pop culture shit, the
Right.
poppy shit, that shit,
right.
Nobody wants to hear old guys do that.
Right.
You know, it's like Sebastian Maniscalco, Bill Burr have been
right.
awesome at taking old man rage
right.
and turning into this phenomenon.
Right.
You have to do that. So like if you want. So I don't know if you're not happy with where you are comedically. You're growing. You're doing great. Like if you're not happy with the jokes you're doing, or you just think you need to get on stage a billion times more. Because when I watch you, I see a seasoned comic. I see a professional comic.
All right.
I see like a guy who's a great joke writer.
Right.
Like just really fucking like murks people. Like you're a great comic. You're like your punchlines. Like you watch people go, that punchline's okay. You have the perfect punchline. So if you're not happy with something, it's like start writing different shit.
Right.
That fucking is more true to you. Like politics is great, but I think like the real magic is like storytelling of your life.
Right.
Well, I find with that, it's just sometimes you got to pick your spots, or I find on what you're developing. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like it's almost like the personal cue of like what you bring to the top. And so a lot of it is just kind of the part I don't like about stand-up comedy is you have a bit of a relationship with the audience. Like, for example, when I worked in Times Square every night, you're working on slightly different material than in the backyard.
Right.
Because the audience is somewhat your editing and writing partner, because you can't just get up and totally bomb.
Right, which I hate. Because I want you to come with me, but I have to, especially now in LA, I have to start simple, dude. I have to start as simple as possible. My style of comedy is called gator roll.
Okay. Gator roll?
Yeah, it's a gator roll.
That's your term?
That's how I do it. It's like an alligator. Grabs its prey really. And then slowly over time brings them down to the back. And now they're laughing at weird shit.
Yeah.
It's all psychological.
Well, I do that with that's why I started doing more tight political stuff up front, because I had to like win them over to like, oh, he's being funny before I get to like.
You're playing, right?
Yes.
Your crowd. Like today's set I did at Skankfest could never be done anywhere else but at Skankfest. You read the room.
Yeah. All right, so last question for you. You've seen all the trends. You've seen all the guys that have popped. What do you see? And you've been through you're 25 years at the Comedy Store. Yeah. Other than the Cellar, that's the heart and soul of comedy. Yeah. Might be a little bit different now with Mothership, arguably.
Yeah, the Mothership has entered the fucking conversation for sure.
I'm just saying you were in the heart and center of the thing.
For the longest time, the Comedy Store was the answer to New York City comedy. Like it was like New York City comedy, Cellar, Comedy Store. Those were the two things that were kind of pushing comedy culturally, which is kind of funny because there's so many stories I start and then I don't end. Like, I guarantee you there's been intelligence infiltration into the comedy scene.
You think so?
100%.
And to do what? To like try and dumb it down? To
find out what's going on, who's going on, what's the story is, manipulate things in certain ways.
Right.
You know, just data. What's going on here? What's going on there? I have theories. I don't want to get into who, but I have theories about who I think is an FBI informant.
You think there's certain people working there, or people that are comedians?
Comedians.
That's wild.
So, I mean, why wouldn't they?
Right.
At one point, I know New York City has kind of taken over the mantle of podcasting too, but for a long time, New York City hated podcasting. Right. It wasn't until Guys We Fucked blew up. Rob Kelly was the only one doing it the way it was done right. Until Guys We Fucked blew up, nobody was really fucking with podcasts out in New York.
It was my buddy, who's a great comedy booker, knew him from high school. He was Benji Susswine, was at Stand Up New York, and he did Stand Up New York Labs, and he was ahead of the podcasting thing. He had Guys We Fucked, Rap, Dave's show, Part of the Problem. Gavin McGinnis had a podcast there. And Stand Up New York had a glory moment when he was working there, where it was like packed out every night, real comics working there. Some people you'd hear from even some of the people like, oh, this is cooler than the Cellar right now, for a brief moment. And he had he was ahead of the curve on the podcast thing, and just I think fell out with management there, and just that like the whole universe just kind of fell apart.
Yeah, but but we were doing that way back in the day. Like I'm part of the OG Death Squad crew that I think changed the game.
Right.
Like the Brian Redband, Joe Rogans, Ari, Joey Diaz.
That's true. You guys had a 5-year head start, other than YKWd, which I've heard it argued if he did not have that FX show and was still all in on it, would have been because, dude, the glory days of YKWd was when Nate Bargatze was there sniping, and then you had Kelly Festuca, who was kind of taking the butt of the jokes, and Lewis, who was a total animal, Joe List, Dan Soder. I used to listen to every episode.
Yeah. He was way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
But the Comedy Store, like at the time, at its peak, which was right before COVID hit, I was blessed to be part of so many eras at the Comedy Store. The dead period, which people would tell you is their favorite period.
So you arrived like just after Kinnison?
I moved to LA in 98, and I was picked up at the Comedy Store around 99, 2000.
So who was like the biggest name, like still kind of drifting through at that time?
Eddie Griffin, Joe Rogan, Dice was coming around, but it was dead, and it was the most artistic time ever, in my opinion, for comedy.
And that's like Mitzi's last decade there?
Yeah, she was still there running it, but she wasn't paying attention because she was sick. So the inmates were running the asylum, and it was the most pure art I've ever seen in my life, because you could go up there and bomb, and they would just come back.
Which
So
you
can't do anymore.
Someone needs, like, I don't even mind that, you hope that you're picked, but like, or that they pick things that you want to platform. But it's like, there needs to be a spot in comedy that you can get up and eat it and show back up the next night.
Yeah, 100%.
And it does not exist right now.
Also the problem is the amount of comics today versus then. There's just too much supply. There's just everybody's doing it. So it's a giant supply, and there's just a lot of people in comedy that are normies. Like Mitzi, there's not like Tammy Bronson's like this, Mitzi was like this. They just get it. Like it's like, to me, it's not the laugh. It's how you get the laugh that's everything. And like if you watch comics, real comics talk about comedy, it's not about it's like boo, yeah. Like that's comedy. Like, and it's like eventually people will stop coming around if it's just vapidness. Yeah, they laugh, but like...
Well, that's like, stand-up became my favorite the second I found him. And it was just that there was so much substance behind the jokes.
Well, that's what I'll tell you.
And it just becomes more layered,
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, he had these long-form jokes that were just so well done, and it was just the most real shit you ever heard. And what makes stand-up so incredible is like, he's fearless on stage, and then off stage, he's the nicest guy you've ever met. And I've always said this, like the guys who get their rage on the stage are the nice people off stage. It's the guys who go up there and play an act that tend to be a little weird. But the point is, it's like, I think the Comedy Store, Bill Burr, Mark Maron, Death Squad, Kill Tony, Ari Shaffir, Bad Friends. You can go on all the podcasts that were at the Comedy Store. Why wouldn't you have intelligence assets trying to figure out who's in play, who's not in play, what's going on? And you just try to follow the people that were in every single cultural, every single movement, whether it's the podcasting, the roasting, the Chelsea lately. Like, who's there at every single moment of those? You can do the math yourself on that.
All right, so last question. Comedy, to me, it seems like I was inspired. I saw Tony the other night, and I was like, look at how big this can be. Like, you know what I mean? To me, it was like, I didn't even realize headlining existed. That's a new world where it's like, oh, wow, you can get a club every weekend, potentially sell 900 tickets. Like, which is still where, like, that's a dream to get to that level where it's like, you can work Thursday to Sunday every single weekend, be sharp as hell, work on your stuff in front of your fans, and walk home with a bigger paycheck than I ever thought I could make doing this. That was not part of my reality. But then you see how many fans are out there that actually seem to appreciate maybe a different version of it, but like stand up, like they like what we're doing. I haven't captured them yet. So I'm curious, like you've seen so many people break, you've seen so many like just changes about how they do it from sitcoms to, late night sets. What do you think is like this next decade? Like what do you think are going to be like the big... I think
you're going to see a separation between the corporate acts and the underground. Okay.
Which I'm as underground as gets, baby.
And that's just where it's going to go, dude. Right. And it's just going to be like music, where you're going to see a festival. Right. And you're going to see people and bands you never heard of, and the place is cracked. Right. I mean, just packed. Right. And then you're just going to have the normies. Right. Dude, I wish I could be a normie. 80% of your population is normie. Right. Then you have your 10% over here, which is the left, which is super conformity shit. Yeah. Which nobody gets, but it's done for the industry, and then you're gonna have the fucking outlaws. Right. And the normies will never understand the outlaws. Right. Because they don't think in that way. Most people are they're just simple people that want to laugh. Right. And they don't have any desire to. They can't understand most of the stuff you and I've talked about today. It's just not in the way they think. So that's where it's going. But it's people think it's hard to blow up a show. I don't believe in that right now. It's you got to figure out how to get across to people. And I think, dude, you're going to see people slowly moving off these giant fucking tech social medias.
Oh, you mean there's going to be more of like organic scenes for finding things?
That's what I think.
Like I want to show up to my local rock club and see what the booker's putting up here.
Yeah, that's what I think's coming.
And less of the, almost like the way people got into record players for a minute, just because it's like people are going to be like, how do I have more organic experiences than what the algorithm's sending my way?
Because the algorithm is sending you low vibrational shit now.
And you think people actually intuitively are starting to wake up to the fact I'd like to have something deeper.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you talk about the way people are obsessed with like meaning and authenticity. Yeah. But like it's all kind of misdirected inappropriately.
There's always going to be corporate acts, pop comedy. It's always going to be like that because that's normie shit. Right. Normies love that shit. Nickelback sells out everywhere they go. I don't think they're bad.
It's just not for me and you.
It's just not for me and you. Yeah. And it's like basic shit. It's like anthem rock. It's like keep it simple, stupid. Kiss told you what they were doing. Right. Right? And then there's going to be just this place where people will come and see. But I think people are going to get over the oversaturation of sex everywhere, the oversaturation of stupid everywhere. Right. And there's going to be a captured group that will never leave that. Right. But you're going to see people bleeding off, and it's going to be like, I think everyone always thinks human beings are just going to keep going farther and farther and farther into tech shit or woke shit. I think people have a certain level they can get to, and then they just aren't going to go past that.
You like hit bullshit bottom.
Yeah, you're like, this is dumb. Right. Well, I don't need to see butts everywhere every 2 seconds. Right. I don't need to see prank videos or snuff on Twitter. Right. You know? Right.
It's like every drug, or for most normal people, you get to a point where you're like, I think I've done a lot of this. And how far did it get me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's going. Right. Like, I do think authenticity there is going to be a real market for that in the future. And just people want to hear it. Now, to what degree? Like I used to co-headline with Sebastian Maniscalco. Like, if you think if I did what Sebastian did, I would be where Sebastian is, it's just not true. Right. It's like he is authentic to that thing, and that's why that resonates with people. Right. You have to come to go, like you can try to be the guy playing all the big rooms. Right. You can try to be Shane Gillis. Right. But Shane Gillis is Shane Gillis. Yeah. What you have to be the most authentic to you. Is that 200 people in any fucking place where you're charging $30 a pop? Right. You do 3 of those, you leave there with more money than your fucking grandpa ever thought was possible? Right. Right? Like, what's going to make you happy?